Let's go live to Southampton, where we can talk to Cara Lisette, a mental health nurse who has spent more than half her life battling anorexia. Good evening. Thanks for being with us, Cara. I mean, there's been a big increase in mental health issues in general over lockdown. Anorexia and eating disorders are part of that. Why has it been so hard for sufferers like yourself?
I think eating disorders just really thrive in isolation and in situations of stress, and when people feel like they don't have any control over their life. And I think the pandemic has just exacerbated all of those feelings in people, which is particularly difficult for people that have eating disorders.
And how, Cara, is that manifesting itself? I mean, you're still struggling, I gather. Did you relapse, or did you fear that you would relapse with help much harder to get during lockdown?
So I was in a day support programme which had to close when we went into lockdown. So I did end up losing quite a lot of progress, certainly for the few weeks that followed that. I was able to pick it back up over time. But yeah, I did see quite a deterioration in my presentation for a number of weeks after we went into lockdown. And
in an outpatient programme, did they try and continue that, virtually? Did you still get some support, and were people getting some support, even if they couldn't go and sort of see one-to-one the people helping them? Yeah, so the day programme, we used to go in every day and have supported meals and therapy groups, which obviously is really hard to replicate when you're doing that virtually. So that was just like telephone support we were having for meal support, and then a couple of video appointments a week. I'm now in outpatient services, and I see my therapist once a week via video, and I gather that that's what a lot of services are having to do at the moment, is do things virtually. It's obviously not the same as going in face to face, but I think people are kind of trying to make the best of what is a really difficult situation. Yeah, and how difficult was it to stick to the meal plan, or a meal plan that you were given? Because I know how important that is to, once you get that meal plan, you really do have to try and stick to it. Yeah, it was really difficult, in part because supermarkets were just empty. So a lot of things that were my safe foods I wasn't able to access, and I wasn't in a place where I could necessarily feel like I could substitute things that I would eat normally for other things. So it did mean that sometimes I was missing things off my meal plan and not feeling particularly able to stick to it very well. So yeah, that was really difficult. Yeah, I talked to some sufferers when there was real panic buying going on in the supermarkets, and they were seeing pictures of the shelves clearing, and they panicked because they were thinking they might not be able to get the foods that they particularly wanted, because they're very specific foods, aren't they? Yeah, that was really, really anxiety provoking, and I think I don't think anybody anticipated that it was going to be quite as bad as it was. But yeah, I know certainly after the day programme closed and I was going supermarket shopping and the shelves were just completely empty, and that was, really, really stressful. Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that word control, and I know part of anorexia is a lot of anorexia is about control. Did you feel you felt out of control during the sort of the real lockdown period? Did you? Completely, yeah. And I think a lot of people felt that way, but obviously for people with eating disorders, those feelings are probably quite magnified anyway. But yeah, I felt really out of control, particularly I think because none of us really knew what was going on at that time and how long any of it was going to last for. And my eating disorder service had no idea how long they were going to have to be doing things virtually for. So everything was kind of hanging in the balance a little bit for quite a long time, until now we've got a clearer picture of actually this is probably going to be quite long term that we're going to be doing things virtually. I don't think I'll probably go back to the clinic face to face before I'm discharged now. Yeah, I mean, so what do you think will happen now? Do you worry about the next few months? What would you like to see happen? Is there anything that I mean, I know charities are doing their best. Anything the government could be doing to try and make things easier? I do feel like mental health care has been pushed by the wayside a little bit. So I think face-to-face contact needs to resume as soon as it's safely possible to do so. And I know that mental health services are lagging behind, quite far behind physical health services, I think, in that regard. Particularly for things like eating disorders, they are really secretive illnesses, and there's a lot of trust going on at the moment, in that I'm having to weigh myself at home and report that back to my therapist. And I am truthful about what my weight is, but I know there are a lot of people that wouldn't be in this situation, and it kind of gives them the perfect opportunity to get worse, really, because people aren't being seen face to face. So I think that needs to come back as soon as is possible, really.
Yeah, and just finally, do you fear that COVID will mean that eating disorders in general are sort of, you know, becomes a lesser priority because of all the attention on COVID?
Yeah, and I think that's the same for a lot of mental health problems, to be honest. Yeah, I think we're being really overlooked in mental health services, and that's a shame, because it has given kind of the perfect storm for them to get worse over the last few months. So we really need to be paying attention to them.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, Cara, thank you very much for talking to us, and I hope your outpatient appointments resume as soon as possible, because I know that, I mean, outpatient is some prefer the inpatient, but outpatient services for eating disorders are very important, aren't they? So look, I wish you the best of luck, and thank you very much for being with us this evening. Thank you.